Thanks for joining us here on 9 News Plus. So, question for you. Have you ever wondered what happens if you lose a watch, a piece of jewelry, a piece of clothing, or a piece of baggage at a public place? So, for example, DIA, City Hall, courthouse, something like that. What happens to it? Well, our very own 9 News investigative reporter, or just reporter here, Jeremy Jojola, joins us for a bit more on that. Jeremy, the story behind what happens to these items, pretty interesting, isn't it? And you dug into it recently.
Yeah, I've always been curious about the miscellaneous categories and the lost and found items. And so a few years ago, I saw the city of Denver had this online auction site where it sells a bunch of its surplus material, like old office equipment and exercise equipment. But also on that website is a bunch of items like rings, engagement rings, jewelry, Game Boys, video game sets, vintage comics. And I was like, what's up with this stuff? And it turns out the city of Denver deals with thousands and thousands of lost and found items every week. And a lot of this stuff comes from the airport. And the city has to do something with this stuff, right? So the city has to organize it, and if it goes unclaimed for a certain period of time, the city will actually take this stuff and sell it. And the city of Denver makes a phenomenal amount of money off of lost and found items. Yeah.
I got a billion questions to come off of this. The first one is, how much money is the city making off of this?
So we got a database, and between January and May of this year, the city sold more than 6,000 items for about $485,000, so about $500,000. So the city's making a lot of money off of this lost and found stuff. And it runs the gamut, right? It runs from really expensive jewelry like a Rolex watch to engagement rings.
Some of the most interesting items. So, to clarify, you went down to one of the warehouses, and what did you see there? What are some of the most interesting items you saw?
Yeah, so the city has two different places, right? There's the public warehouse where the public can go in and take a look, at stuff, that it auctions in real time and like a physical auction, right? Like cars and stuff like that. There's a separate place that we went to that is undisclosed where a lot of these valuables are held, like a Rolex watch, jewelry, high value items, right? So we got access to go look at this stuff before it's put up for sale, and we saw like old Game Boys, vintage comic books, ski boots that somebody left behind, a bunch of clothes. A lot of it is low value stuff, but the stuff that really sticks out is the stuff that can be sold for thousands of dollars. Like, we're talking about a Rolex watch that was found recently. The city recently sold a Rolex watch for $5,300. And what's interesting about that is that the city actually has to, take a look at that Rolex watch and make sure it's not a fake before it puts it up for auction. That way it's not selling a fake Rolex. So it's amazing. You got millions of people traveling through DIA, and every day they leave behind stuff.
And that's a ton of work. So there's 6 employees, full-time employees, right? That
at this warehouse, right? And then at DIA, I didn't even know this. DIA has its own like lost and found office. It's like way deep on the first floor of DIA. I had no idea. And I've been through DIA tons of times. And there's people down there that work in the office full time, and they see about 70 people per day that come in and just turn in random things. Most of the stuff is like passports that people leave behind, IDs, but a lot of it is stuff that's like abandoned at the TSA security checkpoints, right? Like knives. One of the things that really stuck out that was really unusual to me that was found at DIA were these large fossilized shark teeth. It belongs to, and I looked it up, and it was described as a megalodon. I think that's how you say it, a megalodon shark that lived millions of years ago, and the teeth are huge. They're like big, right? And each tooth could sell for like $160. So you got to wonder who's walking through the airport with these large shark teeth. So there's items like that, and then people will take appliances with them to the airport and leave them there, like microwaves, a coffee maker. The city sold a coffee maker recently that was left at DIA for $50. And this is stuff that just left there every single day.
And it's mostly from DIA, is your understanding?
Most of the stuff that comes into the lost and found warehouse is from DIA, about 2,500 items per week. So they're getting hundreds of items. They're getting hundreds of items, and most of it's clothing. But a big common item that's commonly lost at DIA these days are Apple AirPods. They deal with hundreds of those like throughout the months of the year.
And they resell those? They can resell
So
those?
what they do is, like, let's say one falls out of somebody's ear, and if they have another one that is lost, they can pair them up and then sell them. Yeah, it's like putting together a puzzle. They have to figure out which one is left, which one is right, and then they can pair them up. Because a lot of times, these things are small. They fall out of people's ears when they're going up the escalator or they're running to their gate, and they're on the floor. People will turn them in. And the city, I mean, these things are expensive, right? These AirPod Pros, they're really expensive, and the city makes money off of those. Yeah,
And so you mentioned that the city has made about $500,000
$500,000. Yeah.
between January and May of this year. What's the, I guess, projection for how much they're going to make? And also, what do they do with that money?
So all that money goes into the city's general fund.
Okay.
Yeah, so the city, it goes into the general fund. So it just benefits the whole city, right?
Okay.
And so in total, the guys that handle this lost and found stuff, they also handle the city's surplus stuff. That's the stuff the city doesn't need anymore, like old office furniture, chairs, desks, printers, computers, stuff like that. In total, the city anticipates to make about $7 million off of everything, lost and found and surplus this year. So there's a lot of money to be made. It's like a yard sale for the city of Denver, right?
But, hey, it goes kind of back into, I guess, taxpayers'
Yeah,
pockets here.
it goes back to the tax. I mean, so we've been saying the phrase "your loss is the city's gain," right? You lose something, and the city gets a hold of it. The city is going to make money off of it.
So keep that in mind. If you lose your Rolex at DIA, that at least you're getting one fraction of a cent back on it. How often, or how many other cities are do, as far as you know? So Philadelphia, Minneapolis, other cities doing stuff like this?
Oh yeah. This is happening in major cities, from big and small too. This website that the city of Denver uses to auction off its stuff has other stuff from around the country, but Denver has its own section there, so you can see what was lost in the city of Denver and what's for sale. And you'll get good deals on stuff. You'll get good deals on laptops, iPhones, virtual reality headsets. The latest gadgets, you'll find that stuff on there.
And you've got, so let's say you do lose something at DIA. Let's say you lose that Rolex watch at DIA, for an example. Hopefully that doesn't happen to you. You do lose that Rolex. It's required to be held there for 30 days, correct?
Yeah,
and then it goes to this facility?
So per city rules, if somebody loses something at DIA and somebody turns it in, the city, per the rules, have to hold on to that item for 30 days. And if that item is unclaimed for 30 days, that's when it goes to the warehouse to be sold. So at DIA, they have all sorts of things that are lost every day. Like I said, passports, IDs, electronics, AirPods, coffee makers, microwaves, stuff like that. They have to hold on to that stuff for 30 days.
Okay. Well, I guess hopefully day 31, like let's say it goes from DIA to this facility, day 31. Can you get it back once it gets over there?
No, I think once it gets to the warehouse, it's gone. The guys that do work on this stuff, they did tell me every now and then, how you have that Find My iPhone app on your iPhone?
Yeah.
Every now and then when they are turning on iPhones, they'll get a ping. And then somebody will oh, there's my phone. And they'll actually allow them to come to the warehouse and pick up their iPhone. Because, the iPhone has that GPS location app where you can find it, so...
So where, let's say you wanted to go buy some of this stuff, is there a specific website you go to?
It's on our 9news.com page right now where this story is, and you can see the link in there. There's the link to the online auction.
So that's where you can go and buy as much stuff from DIA or all the other places.
It's there. It's there. You can bid on it. It's like eBay, right? So the city tries to get the bidding going, especially on the high dollar value stuff. It'll settle like a low bid, get the bidding going. That way there's some competition. That's how the city makes money off of all of this stuff. Yeah.
This is absolutely fascinating to me.
That's cool.
Anything else that we've missed here?
I think the stuff that really kind of makes me scratch my head, a lot of the stuff that's lost at DIA are crutches, canes, and wheelchairs. Yeah, so you got to wonder, somebody needed that to, move around at DIA, and then they either walked away from it, or maybe they couldn't check it into the plane, or they were just I'm not going to take this with me. You got to wonder what happened there, right? So the city actually sells that stuff.
I think of my 12-year-old self saying, I got to go visit grandma, but I'm sorry I broke my leg or something, and then maybe faking it, leaving the crutches behind. I'm sure there are less facetious reasons for those things being left behind. But Jeremy, absolutely fascinating story. Thank you for sharing this with us here.
Yeah, absolutely.